Hello, everyone. Please let me know if you can hear me. I believe you can hear me actually because I just heard myself from my phone. So, thank you. Thank you so much for joining early. So, for the people that have their names as Samsung, please help me edit it to your name so that just in case I want to engage with you, I would know your name. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining early. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I want to do something a little bit different before we start today. So, if you have friends who are part of this community but have not joined, kindly remind them to join. But I'm going to be asking a question, and I would like to know how many of us have been part of this from January. Hi, Nita, I can see you. How many of us have been here from January or at least have attended one of the sessions? So I want us to, okay, Samsung, please help me adjust your name because now I'm seeing Samsung giving me a thumbs up, but I don't know who Samsung is. So the reason why I'm asking is because like I want to just get like feedback on have you used what you've learned so far for anything? Because it's always good to assess things. And like this is April, so we've had like a quarter of this. So have anyone have you been able to use anything that we've taught here for anything? If you have an answer, please just raise up your hand. I'll allow you to unmute. I just want to hear you. Have you used what you've learned for anything? Maybe from the book or from the sessions? Have you used what you've learned to do anything? Somebody is looking with just half of her face and then she just quickly removed her video. So, based on the things that you've learned, have you used it to do anything like in your family, in the office, for your business? Have you used what you've learned to do anything? Nobody is raising up their hand. So, that means I've just been talking to myself since January. Okay. I will then go ahead to share my screen and I would start. I wanted to engage before starting, but I guess we just want um, us to dive in directly. So, um, thank you all for joining. I know that this is like Sunday and everybody is quite, for some people, like they are so tired after attending maybe first and second service or something. So, thank you for taking the time. Okay, Janet said it's her first time. Thank you. Okay. So what I would do now is I'll just proceed and then we can engage as we go along. So as you know, this is like a mentorship program for women and you can be of any age. Um, I'm not saying I know everything, but the little that I know, I will try my best to communicate it as much as I can. So the topic for April, which is what we are doing today, is communication, confidence, and personal influence. And I know that for some of us in the room, like we are already doing so much in this space. So I believe that you would still get one or two things that you would learn. So the session for today is just for 2 hours. We'll use the first 10 minutes, which we are using now for introduction. And then we're supposed to have like a picture time for 5 minutes. We can take it now or we'll take it at the end. Then the presentation is supposed to last for about 40 minutes. Then the conversation for 45 minutes, and then call to action, and then the announcement and closing words. So the thing is, usually I try to insert questions in between. So I'll be asking questions in between, and then if you have any question, you can also put it in the chat. While we are still doing the introduction, okay. So I can see your chats. Samsung is saying that I am Deborah. Okay, I'm using my phone, so I'm finding it difficult to change. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. I just wanted to know who I was chatting with. I don't know if I can help you adjust it from here, but if you want to adjust your name, assuming you want to put your name, what you just need to do is click on, don't worry, I'll change it for you. Hope I can spell your name. Deborah. Okay, I've changed it for you from my end. Um, so thank you so much for joining, and we will be proceeding. So this mentorship program actually is for women of all ages, meaning that you can be young, you can be old. So if I look at the spreadsheet or like the Excel document, they're like they're like several. So it's like a mix. We have we have. Wait, I just want to confirm that. Okay. Okay, so there is a mix actually. Like we have some people in their late teens. So we have like 19, we have 20, we have 21, we have just like that. So I'll encourage you to just take what you can and feel free to communicate in the chat if you have any question. So the purpose for this mentorship actually is to just guide, mentor, and transfer knowledge, values, skills, and strategies to people. So definitely I have my own experience and you also have your own experience. So it would be good for us to communicate and engage actively. And then the goal is just to ensure that women are skilled, confident, and impactful. So um, this session started in January, and in the January session, I explained how you can find yourself, which, first of all, I said it's to introspect, like to think deeply about who you are and the patterns that you see in your life, things that keep happening, things that people continue to reach out to you for, please, can you assist me with this? And that's how to find yourself, first of all, in the first place. And also to just ask, like, God, look, who am I? And all that. And then to begin to study. That's how you transform your mind, by studying. And then you make a decision to become something. And I said it's always good to be known for at least one thing. And then corresponding action. That's like taking action on the things that you want to do, because that you decide to be something is not enough. You have to start working in that light. So if you want to watch what the January, February, and March session, please go to Juliana Imam and watch it. It's on YouTube. So this is who I am, which you already know. So we'll jump that. And then I just want to say that this is a safe space, and that for everybody here, I believe that we are growing. So if you also want to grow, this is a good place to be. And we're not judging anybody here. So you can say what you want to say, you can type what you want to say, and that would be really good. And there has been like a reading assignment, or so I don't know how many of us have read some of the books that have been sent in our emails. I think they are good for us to read so that you at least have an idea of how my mind works, and you may be able to pick one or two things that may be of value to you. And lastly, there would be certificates at the end in December. And I said that for you to get the certificate, you have to fill the testimonial document. Okay, so this is supposed to be our time for taking pictures. Maybe I'll jump that now, and then, or okay, let's take the pictures now and then we continue. So please let me see your beautiful faces, and then you can screen grab where you are. If you can put okay. Okay, so just put your videos on. Let's see. Okay, so please put your videos on if you can. Okay, so we'll take our screenshots here. Just take your screenshots from your end. By adventure, you would need it. Happy to see your faces. Thank you for joining. Okay, so we'll be heading straight into the session for today then, if we've taken our pictures. Okay, so I'm moving and we're starting, because I said 10 minutes was for introduction, and also we're moving now. So what is communication? Communication is the exchange of verbal and non-verbal information. So like speaking, writing, symbols, signs, behaviors, or using some other medium from one individual or group to another. So I'm sure that we already know how we communicate. Some of us have siblings, we have spouses, we have friends, we have colleagues, we have customers that we work with. So we know how we communicate. And some of us too are religious. So we go to church or we go to mosques and all that, and we know how we communicate. So you already know what communication is. It can be verbal, like how I'm speaking to you now, or it can be non-verbal, like you are just acting in a certain way, and it can be emotional. It can be someone might pick what you're saying from your tone or your body language, or even the silence. So there's sometimes, like for some of us that are married, with you, everything is somebody saying that she can't put her camera on. That's favor. I don't know because other people were able to put their cameras on. Maybe we'll try it again afterwards. Thank you. So there's some times that my husband will ask me, how are you? Is everything okay? And I'm saying, yes, everything is okay, but everything is not okay. But I'm just tired of talking at that point. So I just say everything is okay. So at that point, even though my words, which is verbally saying everything is okay, from my countenance, that's like my body language and all that, even if I'm giving him food, he can see that everything is not okay. So that's what communication is like. It's both verbal and non-verbal, and people can get it from your tone or from your influence, problem solving across different areas of life. So what communication is not? Communication is not just talking. And sometimes, like, especially I think women, because like this is something like for women and all. So sometimes I discover that I might be talking and talking and talking, and my husband is not following what I'm saying. And after a while, I'm like, sorry, are we talking to each other or I'm not? And he is just totally lost. So sometimes you are just talking, but the person that you're talking to is not following you at all. So communication is not just talking. You can speak a lot and still not communicate effectively. So it's not just about like winning arguments, but it's supposed to be about understanding. You know, recently, like for some days, I discovered that I've been like finding my husband's trouble a lot. And even though like I've been finding his trouble, I I discovered that he still somehow like I still have a way of talking, and then he'll talk and then we'll laugh about it. And this is something that before, if if this type of thing happens, maybe we will not be able to resolve it in a long time. But the thing is, because we've been able to understand ourselves to an extent, we can communicate better now. He knows when I'm just looking for trouble, and he knows that I don't mean it. So it's always good to understand your level of friendship and whatever before you start doing some things, because there are some kind of communication that might not fly depending on the kind of relationship that you have with the person at that time. So communication is not just supposed to be one-sided. You're supposed to be listening to whoever you are talking to. So when you speak, and that's why some people will tell you that when you're sharing good news, don't just share the good news and you're just excited and you're not. No, when you share good news, you share the good news and you look at the person that you are talking to, so that you see whether they're actually rejoicing with you or not. But sometimes I feel like we share good news and we're talking, oh, do you know, I just got pregnant, we're just and everything. But the person that we're talking to is not even interested in that communication at all. And it's because we're not observing what is going on. So it's good that when we are communicating, we're also observant. Now, communication barriers to communication are the things that distort, delay, or block understanding between people. Like I said, okay, so I'll just continue. They can be internal. So, for example, now your mindset, you can just get into a place and you're like you're totally shut, like you've already shut everything, so you can't even learn anything. I remember that there was a particular church I was going to one time, and when I was there, somehow, whenever I go there, I'll just feel like I will not be able to learn anything. I'll just tell myself like I might not be able to learn anything from here because the pastor was speaking Fune, and I was like, I don't understand the what like he was speaking. But that was like a mindset. Like I went there without relaxing and allowing and telling myself that okay, because I've spent my transport to come here, I must get something. So if you have that kind of mindset, or if you go into, for example, like a relationship, saying okay, maybe this is how it's going to happen, you've already put your mind like in a fixed way, so you may not be able to get better from it. Also, your emotions can actually block you from getting what you're supposed to get. So, for example, if you're angry, you might not even see what is going on. Somebody might be trying to do you good, but because you are already in an emotionally down place, you might not even understand what is coming to you. Another thing, again, which is also internal, can be speech impairment. So maybe you stammer or whatever it is, that can affect how you communicate with people. Now externally, we can have like your environment, your language, your medium. So I'll give you an example. There was a particular um, job I saw, and I was like, oh, I like this job. And I reached out to some of the people that were in charge of the job, and I was like, I really like this job. Do you think I can get this job? And the person was like, yes, I think that you have the qualifications. But the person asked me a question: do you speak French? And I said, basic French. And the person was like, you have to speak fluent French to be able to present in French. So at this point, even though I had the knowledge to actually take on that role, what was a limiting factor for this particular role was the fact that I could not communicate in French, both in speaking and in writing. So sometimes when it comes to communication, even in the workplace, you may be skilled, but you may not have the right tools for communication. Then identifying barriers is the first step to becoming more effective and intentional in your communication. So for example, for me now, I last year, like I said in the previous classes, like I tried to see how I could learn French, but somehow it just did not work at that time. Though I can read some of it, I can understand some of it, but that fluency in French and all, I have not been able to get it. And like I've said in previous classes, I think it would be something that would be good for me, especially because in my organization, people use it a lot. So I'll just advise you that, especially in your own career, like your professional life, if you're someone who is planning to go international, most times when you're looking at the job descriptions, you would see that they would ask, okay, can you speak maybe Chinese, um, Spanish, French, and all those things, and you will not see any Nigerian language there. So I think if part of the things that you're trying to do is to go into that space, try to get that thing, because aside from the fact that you already have the skill, if you don't have that, that can be a barrier, like I said. So emotional barriers, for example, we can have anger, fear, pride, insecurity. Insecurity is bad though. Insecurity is very bad. If you are insecure, that thing can affect you both in your marriage, your relationship with your siblings, your official relationships, and all. Then assumption and bias. So thinking you already know what the other person means. That's very self-explanatory. Then poor listening habits, listening to respond and not to understand. So sometimes when I'm having like my sessions with my husband, sometimes when he's talking, I'm already thinking of what I want to respond. But I'm not just sitting down to think, okay, how is this guy really feeling? I'm just thinking of, okay, what's the best way to respond to what he's saying? But sometimes I would say that if you can actually, because there's sometimes that I'm talking and he's now speaking, my mind is telling me that I should think of a response to give to him. But if I decide that, Juliana, don't be defensive, just calm down and listen to what he's saying. There's sometimes that even like from how he's speaking, the way he's breathing, the way his voice is sounding. If I just move away from myself, I can see that he really means what he's saying. And the fact that I'm trying to counter him, I'm overwhelming him. So at that point, I will just be quiet, because I know that trying to communicate with him is not like a fight, like, okay, who can talk more? Who can, no, just there's some times that you just want to calm down. So, and then another barrier can be wrong medium. That's, for example, using text for sensitive conversations. So, for example, if you want to write something that may hurt another person, sometimes, so when you put it in writing, I don't think it can be that it may be right always, because even after you've reconciled, the person can just be scrolling through like their text, and then they will see that thing that you wrote, and then the emotion that they felt will come back. So I remember the first time I got married, I had like this. So I usually have like jotters. So I had this diary, and whenever my husband does something that is bad, I will write it. On this particular day, my husband did this, and I will write it. Another day, I'll write. Another day, I'll write it. After a while, I now told myself that, okay, why will I be archiving bad emotions? And that day I just decided that no, I'm not going to write anything that is bad. I'm not going to write it. And that thing helped me. So even when like we have a misunderstanding, I don't write it. When I have a bad dream, I don't write it, except it's a good dream or it's a good thing and all that. So sometimes like using like a using like a wrong medium to now archive things may not be good. Then lack of clarity. Some of us we over explain, some of us we under explain, and sometimes we are very vague. I remember the first time that I started my role, when I would send an email, after sending the email, maybe I won't get a response. Then my boss will ask me that I should show him the email that I sent. When I show him the email, he will now say that this email was not clear, in the sense that it did not really make an ask at the end, like what exactly do I want the person to respond to. So sometimes we are like vague in our um, messaging. Then some of us we over explain, and sometimes this can be negative, especially in the workplace. So sometimes I will receive an email and I would want to over explain in the email and write and write and write, but sometimes I realize that in the workplace, the lesser you write sometimes, the better. Because when you over explain sometimes, especially in a corporate setting, you might actually explain yourself into trouble. So sometimes when I finish my when I finish writing and I overwrite, then I show my husband and it's like, you have said too much. And you'll be surprised that sometimes somebody else would send you a message and they might just send you one line, and that's in response to a long thing that you sent, because they don't want to over explain. Because sometimes in some kind of work environment, when you over explain, you can over your you can over explain yourself into issues, and then you don't also want to under explain. So I'll move to the next one: default communication styles. So default communication styles are the authentic ways people respond, express, or withdraw, especially under pressure or emotion. So I'm sure that everybody has like a way that you behave naturally, like a way that you communicate naturally. And it's possible that you learned that like from your dad or your mom or your siblings, or based on everything that happened in your life, you just adopted a particular way that you communicate. So these styles are often unlearned behaviors shaped by upbringing, like I said, your environment, your personality, your past experiences. And for example, this can include silent treatment. So how many of us give silent treatment here? Please just put in the chat. If you used to give silent treatment, just say me. Silent treatment people. If you used to give silent treatment, just indicate in the chat. Then some of us, we are like passive aggressive. Some of us, there's this microaggression stuff. That one is mostly in the workplace. Overthinking. Some of us, we overthink. Some of us, we avoid. Some of us, we are defensive. Some of us, we are people pleasing in our communication style. So let's see the communication styles that we have. Okay, so we're having a lot of me, silent treatment. Yeah, so that's silent treatment thing, there's some times that we just do it because you don't even want to even go into that kind of comment. You don't even want to talk. So sometimes I also do it, like I just give that silent treatment. Maybe I just decide, okay, no, I don't want to continue this conversation. Then I just go like that. Then some people are very aggressive, like they must show you. Well, some they will not tell you anything, no, but they'll be doing things that can put you in trouble. That one can happen in the workplace very well. They will not tell you anything, but they will make sure that they sign an agreement that they must put you in trouble. That one is like passive aggression. Or sometimes if it's even your siblings, they can be very passive aggressive sometimes. Then over talking, and then defensiveness. This one, let me not go into that one. So while they may feel natural, default styles can damage relationships, create misunderstanding, and block healthy communication. So the takeaway here is, if you don't intentionally shape your communication, your past and emotions will shape it for you. So if you don't decide, and no, this is not how I want to go, then your past will help you do it. So for example, like I used to say, for me, like for example, my husband, there's some times that when I'm discussing with him, once I bring up something, he can just get defensive. And I'm like, why are you getting defensive on this matter? Why not just answer it? Two of us, like, we are just in the room together. Nobody's judging you, so you don't have to be defensive. But sometimes, like, that's the default setting for some people. But we don't always have to be defensive, because sometimes, like, we shut people out from really saying what they want to do. So, like, silent treatment is like when you withdraw instead of expressing yourself. Passive aggression is indirect resistance or hidden frustration. Microaggression can be subtle, often unconscious, hurtful comments or actions. So recently I was thinking about something that I was doing, and I realized that when my husband talks about a particular person, I just answer with like sarcasm and all that. And I was just thinking about it, that you're not supposed to be doing this thing. But I realized that I was doing it. But first, I didn't know that I was doing it. But after a while, I now realized that I used to respond to certain conversations with sarcasm. And I was like, no, that's like microaggression sometimes, like because of what has happened in the past. Instead of you to be direct and helpful in your conversations, you now decide to be um, dismissive, or you now use sarcasm. That's not good. So, reasons why people develop some of these things, like I said: upbringing, environment, past experiences, emotional wounds. So last year, I decided to attend not attend, but I signed up for a therapy session, 8 weeks, 8 weeks therapy session. And I think that the therapy session really helped me, because I was communicating with some people in a certain way. And how do I put it? They had offended me. And so I was communicating with them with like this type of barrier. But I now discovered that by the time I was having this therapy session, after talking about it, like I was telling my husband yesterday, that I feel better in my communication with these people right now, because I've been able to let go of the hurt, the rejection, the trauma, and all those things. And now I'm in a better place to relate with them with like more purity of mind and thought. So sometimes I feel like what would help us in our communication may be just unloading, offloading some of those things that we've held up in our chest. It might help us. And then personality and temperaments can also affect how we communicate. Some of us are introverts, some of us are extroverts. And for introverts, it may be difficult to engage with people, to network, and all that. But for those of us that are extroverts, it may be easy for us to communicate. So lack of awareness and intentional learning. Um, Many people have never been taught how to communicate. And we must understand that for different people, there are different types of communications that are required. So I'll move to the next slide. Mediums of communication. Communication can happen face to face. It can happen via calls, written text messages, emails, like I said. And for the different communications, it requires different kinds of, for the different people or bodies that you are communicating with, you have to understand that there are different ways to communicate. So I think I've said this. So communication hacks that work. For example, personal development makes you a better communicator. I remember when I first met my husband and we first started like talking. So I think I've spoken about this in one of our podcasts. There was a day that we were inside the car and my husband was talking and he's quite intellectual and he likes speaking English and all those things. So he was just talking and talking. And while he was talking, I was quiet or something like that. So he now told me that, why am I not responding? So I now told him that the reason why I'm not responding is because I'm a quiet person. He now told me that it's not true, that I don't read, that no, that was not even what he told me. He now told me that he's not trying to brag. That was just how he said it. He said, I'm not trying to brag, but I am far intelligent than you. And he was quite serious. And what when he said that, I felt hot, but I also realized that I had not studied as much as he has studied. So sometimes we see ourselves as women. One of the things I've come to discover sometimes, even like between my daughter and my sons, I see that there's sometimes that when it comes to reading, my son is more interested in like voraciously reading books than my daughter sometimes. And then when it comes to studying about invention, cars, and all those things, my son studies all those things. When it comes to even testing some of those things that he knows, he wants to test them. But like for her, she's like more like just so there's sometimes like even in politics and international relation matters, when you come into those kind of spaces, sometimes you see that it's the men that are talking more about it than the women. And it's not that we cannot communicate, but because we've not studied about it, we're not able to communicate in that space. So I remember there was a time that I think that was 2024 or something. I traveled and I was like in a space with different people that are in the UN space, and they were just talking like international politics and all those things. And I discovered that the people that were really in the conversation were the men more than the women. And that's because they read, they listen to CNN and all those things. So I'll just say that it's reading about things helps us in our communication. Then emotional and situational intelligence makes you a better communicator. There's sometimes that you just have to be emotionally intelligent when you're communicating with people. When you're communicating with older people, it's not everything that's on your mind that you begin to just bring out. You have to talk with respect. When you're talking to people that are younger, you also have to know that, okay, I have to break down my communication for them to understand what I'm saying. You have to research, you have to practice before major speaking engagements. So I remember that in there was a time when I was supposed to speak like with like some political people like in another country. So at that point, like I studied like overnight. I kept practicing and practicing and practicing. And even after I'd finished practicing, minutes or like hours before the program, they had to ask everybody to come into the room. We had to practice everything that we were supposed to say. We had to practice it. Those that were using teleprompter had to practice it. Those of us that were not using that, we now had to practice with other people. So people practice before they speak. So sometimes when you watch things online and you're like, oh my God, this person is so fluent, is so this, they've already practiced it. Even the jokes that they say, they've already practiced the joke. Like the joke is interwoven into what they are saying. So sometimes when you want to sound like people, you have to practice it. So when people speak, it's also good to pause before you respond instead of just throwing out your response, and then to be simple and clear. And sometimes if people speak and you don't understand, you can ask them to repeat and it can help. I've already spoken about the channels of communication. So I'll just give like several examples. For example, when you're communicating with your parents, your siblings, or your in-laws, so first of all, understand them and their communication preference. So for example, like for me now, my parent in-laws are like really like older than me, and they are even older than my parents, like my mom that's alive. So most times I don't rush to speak when I'm speaking to my in-laws. I don't rush. I listen more when they are speaking. I respond, yes, ma, yes, sir, yes, ma, yes, sir. If they ask me a question, I respond to just the exact thing that they are talking about. I don't over try to, because I know that they are more experienced than me. And even if they do something that I'm not so happy with, I don't tell them, oh, this thing that you did, I don't like it. Never. I don't do that. Instead, I would receive it and all that. And then if I come back home, I can now talk to my husband that, see what happened, see this that happened. I don't think this is this. Then if he has a good way to talk to them about it, fine. If he doesn't, I allow it slide. That's how I do my own things when it comes to communicating with my in-laws. So because first of all, I don't have anything to gain by arguing with them. And I try to be as polite and nice as I can. So for me, that's how I approach our communication. So lead with respect and emotional awareness, even when you disagree. Avoid avoid childhood patterns, like communicate as the woman that you are now, not as a child that you are. So, for example, as a child, when I'm offended, I want to just go and stay by myself and just withdraw and all that. But I cannot say that that is what I want to do now. I have to relate as somebody who is enlightened and has learned and can communicate in any kind of circumstance. Then in relating with parents, siblings, and in-laws, you can also choose your timing and your tone carefully. So I remember when I first got married, then like growing up with like my own mom, when she does something that is offensive, it's like easy to just be like, oh, mommy, no, I don't like this. This one, that's, I can easily say my mind when it's like my own mom. But when I now got married, my husband, if I want to like, maybe like I'm on phone and she's talking, because my mom will tell you that you can change, but me, I cannot change. I'm already old. So that's how she says her own. So sometimes I want to like say my mind and all those things. But getting married now for like 10 years, my husband will tell me things like, he used to tell me, like, no, you cannot be in my house and talk to your mom without respect. So I learned how to, whenever she says whatever she wants to say, I will, I will like calm down and then say it to her in a polite way. And for me, I would say that that's one of the beautiful things that I learned. And also, when I looked at the way my husband communicates with his own parents, like he's an Edo person, but they lived in like the West, so he has that Yoruba culture. So that kind of respect, like maximum respect. So when I see how he like communicates with his own parents, so I learned how to use like that template to now communicate with my mom, like in a more respectful way. Some of us, some people, let me not say some of us, because it's possible that you communicate with the utmost respect. But for some people, like you just talk to your parents anyhow. And you forget that parents have the blessings that they give. Like your pastors have the blessings that they give, but your parents also have the blessings that they give. So no matter what they are doing, what I take it now as is that parents at a particular level, they now start behaving like children. So you just need to just try to calm down and no matter what they do, still communicate with respect. Then for siblings, sometimes there's this thing that they say in Nigeria, see finish, maybe like your siblings have seen you already. So sometimes they might talk to you or relate or behave in a way that they're not supposed to behave. But you are someone who has practiced emotional intelligence and someone who can master their emotions. there's a way you can still, many times when I get really angry and I decide to talk without caution, maybe to my siblings or somebody, I still end up apologizing because at the end, like I've acted out of character. So I think we should just get to a place where we can master the emotions that we have so that we can communicate in a way that is positive. So communicate around your areas of alignment and leave other areas except it's harmful. So for example, like with your siblings, your in-laws, your parents, it's not everything that you must address. Just for me, this is what I do. I just communicate along the lines that we are aligned in, except it's something that is harmful. But if it's not harmful, I'm not going to go into areas that I'm not invited into. So sometimes, like, we are not able to like see where we are, but we want to transgress, or how let's say, we want to enter into another person's personal space that they've not called us into. So I just feel that I should mention that. Then in communicating with your spouse, learn how your spouse prefers to be spoken to. So the reason why I'm talking about all these things is just because we are women and we may need some of this information. So learn how your spouse prefers to be spoken to. So I was reading something like some days ago. I think it was Otedola's daughter, that he would type everything that he wants to say. He would type it and then he will send to her. So that one is his own way of communication. That means if she responds with that text, he might like it. I don't know. For me, if I feel that something is mal way, like I want to call my husband, tell him that I want to have a discussion with him, and then marshal out my points. But I discovered that, excuse me, when I bring up that kind of conversation with my husband, I tell him, okay, please come, have a seat. I want to say some things, and I now start talking. Immediately I say, come, sit down. Sincerely, I'm not lying. His shoulder is already high like this. He would just be he would be very tensed. Like he would be so tensed. He would be so tensed that immediately I finish giving it to him, because he's also a lawyer, he will be coming up with his defense. So he will be very defensive. He will be pushing out his own defense, everything like that. So presently he has said that the best way to communicate with him is like using joke, using this. So sometimes I do it, like for example, I think was it yesterday? So we don't have a help right now. So we washed like the clothes ourselves and we're going out to dry the clothes. So he had already dried some clothes and then he called me. He was like, babe, come, let us dry the clothes. And I was doing something like, okay, I'm coming. Then I came out. Then he was like, take these things and dry them here while I'm rinsing these ones. So as he was doing that, he had already spread some things. Oh. He now told me that, he now said, remove the other ones that we've already dried and then dry these new things on the parts where we've dried the old things. And we had like up to 10 lines that were empty, but he wanted me to remove the ones that were not totally dry and dry. So I was like, why? He now said that the sun is there, that the sun is not on the other side. So to me, like I felt he was overdoing it. And I felt he was overdoing it because he was the one that spread the first clothes. So he was now trying to make me remove the other ones to dry. So I was like, as I wanted to talk, I now just, I rolled my eyes. That is the truth. I rolled my eyes just to be sincere. I rolled my eyes. After rolling my eyes, I now removed the clothes. And I said, okay, so should I take these damp clothes inside? Then he now said, no, yes, you can take them or you can dry them. So we now finished drying it. But I knew that he saw me when I rolled my eyes. So when he was driving out, after that time, he was just being formal with me and I was being formal. So when he was driving out, and I told him, I said, do you know that you used to overdo? Do you know that you used to overdo? You used to overdo things. He now said, how? So I was like, how will you dry clothes? There are other places to dry clothes. Then you now want to remove this one to dry another one. When there's a way you can try. You understand? But I used joke to say it. Then, like more than quarrel, more than fight, or something like that. He now said that he was just trying to see the son was. Now, the way I said it, as I used joke to say it, two of us were okay after that because we just laughed. I yabbed him, he yabbed me, and we finished and we were done. But that same thing was something that could have caused an issue if maybe he didn't handle it well or I did not handle it well. So just understand your spouse and know how to communicate. Then speak to like boost like the self-esteem of your spouse and not deflate it. There's sometimes that they might bring ideas, bring stuff, just encourage them. What you think may not work, you can just like advise them to research more. Then during disagreements, you can speak to resolve, not to win everything, because it's a partnership and not a communication. Be honest, be kind in your communication. Learn to listen, practice communication styles, and see which one works best for you. So communicating with children, I'm not sure. Okay, I guess some of us have children. So speak in ways that build them and not break them. So I'll tell you one example. My daughter did something recently, and she was already scared. So she now came and told me that, do you think God will forgive me? So I now said, why will God not forgive you? Because what she did was bad. Do I think God? I corrected her for what she did, but I now went and got like different scriptures and everything. Then I had like a time with her where I told her to read all of them, and then I took like 30 minutes to explain why she will be forgiven, why there's no issue and everything. So I was able to explain those things to her. So that's what we have to do as parents, so that we don't speak in a way that our children are now demoralized and then they now start looking for validation or solutions outside. For example, I think that my daughter was saying that in her school, some people brought vape to her school, and she's just in just one. So you can imagine if there was no fluid communication in the house, it's possible that she would have not said what she said. So we must be intentional, and sometimes with children, you have to repeat yourself over and over and over, and we must not be tired of repeating ourselves. So we must create a safe space, like I said, and we must practice different communications and see the one that works. So, for example, like with my son, if if I want him to read a book now, I can just pick a book like this and I'll just tell him, if you read this book, if you read this book, I will create 5 videos for you and I will post it on your Instagram page. I'm telling you, my son will read the book. He will jot chapter by chapter because he wants to do that video. But if I tell my daughter, if you read this book, I will do, she will not read it. I will have to push her and push her and push her before she will read it. So, for example, like I was telling my husband, I said, we already understand to an extent the things that we can say to motivate our son, but we now have to practice the things that we can say to motivate our daughter. So for different children, they have different temperaments and they have different, so we must learn the different things that work for them. Communication with our bosses, our colleagues, and our clients. When it comes to official communication, first of all, you must be clear, concise, solution-oriented. What they did not ask you for, just hold it until, except you are sure that you are supposed to say it. Professional communication values efficiency. Understand power dynamics and expectations. Adapt without losing authenticity. So, for example, even in communicating, like in the workplace, there are several work cultures that if you understand it, then it can help you to sleep better. For example, there's some people that if you should send them an email, they would not respond. But if you send them a Teams message, they would respond. Some people, if you send them a Teams message, they will not respond. But if you call, they will respond. Some people, if you send them a message, they will not respond. You send them Teams, they will not respond. You call them, they will not respond. They don't respond to you except they want to talk to you. That's what I have noticed sometimes. So for some people, you don't even want to stress yourself like in the workplace. When they need your services or they need to talk to you, they would reach out to you. But if you are the one doing the reaching out, they will not reach out to you. And you also have to think of what is the best way to communicate, especially when you're communicating upwards. Like I said in one of the sessions, when you're communicating with your boss, for example, let's assume that your boss is chatting with you on WhatsApp. Are you supposed to respond with a love emoji? I don't think so. So those are just some things that you have in mind. So document and follow up your communication. Clarity protects your work and reputation. There are some times that you may need to communicate in writing, especially in the workplace, because if you don't communicate in writing, you may be misrepresented. And sometimes, especially when you're putting your communication in writing, you must check it and be very sure of what you're writing, because sometimes what you have written will be referenced. And so anything that you don't want to be referenced, don't put it down in writing. Um, Understand your communication culture in the office. That one I've said it already. And then study documents and all that. And for example, when you're communicating with people, the more you do it with your colleagues and all that, there are sometimes that you're communicating with your colleagues and you see that they may be smiling, oh, but they are not really they are not really following what you are doing. Like I don't know how to explain it. Maybe so you now think that what you did is correct. Then all of a sudden you now receive an email from your supervisor. You now realize that the person that you were just communicating with has gone to report you, but your last communication had a smile emoji. So you need to be careful, especially in the workplace. All right. Joy said, this is me. The best way to communicate with me is via text. I don't usually do calls. If you want to reach out to me and you want quick feedbacks, just message me. Okay. For me, if you should send me a text message, most times I don't respond because I don't look at text. WhatsApp, I respond. And I prefer voice notes sometimes. Just explain yourself in a voice note. I've explained myself in a voice note. We are good. That's informal. But formally, it's best to put it in writing, especially when you're working in a multicultural environment. Communicating with friends, understand your kind of friendship, and don't overstep. Communicate within the ambit or scope of your friendship. You know, sometimes then you think that you're very close friends with somebody, but the truth is that you are not a close friend with the person, but you think you're a close friend with the person, you are not. So understand the kind of friendship that you have. Is it just an office friendship? Is it just a holiday friendship? Is it just lounging friendship? Is it a deep friendship? You understand? You have to understand the kind of friendship that you have. Then practice honesty, practice empathy, avoid assumptions. You can actually clarify. You know, there's sometimes that clarifying can be difficult because you're already used to assuming that, okay, this is the thing that is happening. But sometimes just clarify because you'll be surprised that the answer that you get will be totally different. For example, like I told you, when my husband said I should remove the other ones to spread something there when there was already space there, I felt like he was overdoing. But he now explained to me that he needed it to be under where sun was, you understand? So sometimes you just assume, but that is not really the best. And then in your friendships, then try to build each other, not that you bring people down. Because me, I don't understand. There's some people, when I sit down, maybe in church now, I sit down and I'm seeing some friends communicate. Inside that friendship, one person is insulting the other person, bringing the person down and everything, and the other ones are laughing about it. Me, I don't understand that kind of friendship. Even in my relationship, like I told my husband, right from the first time I saw him and I met him, I said, me, I don't like embarrassment. I don't like the kind of thing that you think is a joke. And then you are now insulting in public and you say it's a joke. I don't like it. Oh, you said, you are too stupid though. I'm telling you, you said you are just just too stupid. And it's a friendship, something. No, me, I don't like that kind of friendship. Like, don't insult me as a joke. I don't like it. And I will not insult you as a joke. So, how many of us here, let's put it in the chat, how many of us have friends that we insult ourselves as a joke? Because people are different. So let's even have it in the chat. How many of us insult ourselves as a joke? Like you insult yourselves as a joke, like, hey, like, see your head, big head, like, and it's a joke. Oh, that's how your friendship is. Like, how many of us insult ourselves as jokes? And how many of us do not like it? Like me, I do not like insulting my friendship. Let's see. Deborah, she said, I hate it. Uh-huh. Or like you're married to somebody, the person used to insult you as a joke. You too, you insult the person as a joke. Deborah said, I hate it. Uh-huh. So thank you for this. And so me, I don't like it. And it's also good that you communicate it. Uh-huh. So let us read the chat. So Adewumi said, I do not like it. Adewumi said, I do not like it. Comment. Let me open my chat here. Let's go here. Adewumi said, I do not like it. Let's see. I do not like it. Inumidun said, I don't like it at all. Whenever someone does that, I make it clear to that person that they should not do such. Okay. Isioma, I do not like it. I really do not like insult as a joke. Junior, Ifoma, insult is too far actually. Friendly banter is what my friends, okay. Joy, it depends on my relationship with the person. Sometimes I do it with my closest friend, but not in public, only when we are together. I feel, okay, Blessing said, I feel the person is just using the best opportunity to say the truth, jokingly. So that's just it. Like, it depends on site. You understand? You not say that you want to meet with a mentor, then you now go clueless. You now say, how are you? Yourself, how are you? How is no, 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 no. For example, somebody reached out to me that he needed to see me today after service. Before he was coming to see me, I was surprised. He had already drafted everything that he wanted to talk about, he already had it. So when you're talking to a mentor or a leader or people that you respect, make sure that you prepare what you want to say, write it down, think about it, think of your questions, just have everything in mind. Don't just go clueless. And then when you are chatting them online, don't just say hi, hello. Me, I don't do that. And if you send me hi, hello, I will not respond. So you think of what you want to say, then send it once as a full message that if they decide to open your chat quick questions that show your depth and your growth. Communicate gratitude and progress. When they take their time to talk to you, make sure that you respond and you are grateful about it. Then don't act disrespectful. Don't ask disrespectful questions or invade their privacy. Maybe you have been trying to ask somebody to mentor a person. So, yes, I will mentor you. Come or they had something. You now just enter into their room or their kitchen. You understand? You've already showed that you don't even value that courtesy that was shown to you. Communicating with strangers or annoying people. You can lead with basic respect. Like your character should be consistent and not selective, meaning that if like you're a good person or a nice person, you are generally like, that is your disposition. So it's not like for some people you are nice, for other people you are not nice. No, you just have that good disposition, that nice disposition, but you know how to set like the boundary so that people don't overstep. So be clear and be brief. Then protect your energy if like the person is trying to bring their own bad energy into your space. So digital communication and branding, talking points. So communicate your value on the business or like the impact work that I've done over the years have been built on communication online. And some people, they just trivialize it and they look down on it. But I'm telling you, communicating online is a very good thing. And for me, it's even easier for me to communicate online than to communicate in person sometimes. Like, it's so good. You can take your time, write your mind, or write what comes to your mind, and then you post it online. You can reach out to people, follow people. Communicating online is very good. So I encourage anyone that is not active online. You know what? Even if you're not a good communicator, you can pay somebody to be your social media agent or something. The person can help you to draft stuff, post, and all, just to have that presence online. There's sometimes that people would need to do something, and because you have a presence online, for example, I think um, a while back, there was this news station that reached out to me, and they called me to their station to have like a session, which I went and I spoke about the entertainment industry. When I was done, out of curiosity, I now asked the lady that how did she discover who I was, and she said that she typed on Instagram, entertainment lawyer, and I popped up, and that was how she reached out to me. So sometimes when you practice some of these things, entertainment lawyer in Abuja, IP lawyer in Abuja, or this, you'll be surprised the day that they would be needing somebody in that space, because you are online, they'll actually find you. So I do this sometimes. Go on Google and type your name. When you go on Google and you type your name, then you will know how many pages appear with your own details. So if you go on Google now, type Juliana Imam, at least page one, page two, page three will be me. But some of you here, or some people that may be watching later, if you should type your name online, let's assume that your name is Jessica Roy. If you type Jessica Roy, there will be like 500 Jessica Roy, different Caucasian Jessica Roy, black Jessica Roy, white Jessica Roy. They cannot even see who you are. But you must build your presence online to the point where when they type your name, even if there are 100 people that have that name, let your own name, I mean, let your own presence be the first on the first page. That's a very important thing. So if you write with authority and authenticity. If you make videos, make it the same way. Use your voice to attract opportunities, build credibility through consistency, turn personal experiences into powerful messages. Structure your stories for teaching and influence. Use vulnerability strategically. Storytelling can be used in career, business, and advocacy. So I think this is for digital communication. And I think most of us here are already doing that. The thing is, part of the things that make me to communicate online actually is because I think about after retirement. I think about what I want to do with my weekends. Most times I have like speaking engagements during weekends. I have speaking engagement during holidays. I like that. And I know that for those things to be coming, there's a kind of presence I need to have online. But for people who may like have private lives and may want private lives, you may not see the need to do that. Yes, but if you want to actually be visible, you want to be talking in places, you have to post those things. You have to, not that you're showing like your private life, no, but at least talk, just be visible to an extent. So what do you do when your communication is constantly misunderstood? You know that for some people, like people constantly misunderstand you, just like you are in a bubble of misunderstanding, like everybody is misunderstanding what you're doing. So sometimes if you see that you are constantly in that circle of people misunderstanding you, you can pause and assess the pattern, like not just the moment. So why are people always misunderstanding me? Like, is there a way I talk? Is there something I do that makes people to see me this way? Then you can try to work on it. So if multiple people misunderstand you across different relationships, review your clarity, your tone, your delivery, not just their response. Some people, every organization that you've gone to, you you're always fighting, you're always having issues, something is always happening. There's sometimes that you just need to pause and then think of how best you can improve your communication, adapt your communication to the relationship level, speak differently with different people, like your boss, your spouse, your children, strangers, ask for feedback and clarification in real time. Then use simple checks like Can you tell me what you understood from what I said? Okay, I'll just jump this and move on. So, conflict resolution and difficult conversation. Practice addressing issues without damaging relationships. Like I think I spoke about this. I think in February, some of us like once there's something that is stressful, we must stop and we must scatter the relationship. Everything must scatter. I used to know somebody like that. Whenever you offend her, she must she must draw blood. She must make sure that she like talks to the point where she must offend you, offend you, block you, everything. Like she must draw blood out of everything. She must scatter the relationship. If she has not scattered it, then that communication is not over. So if you're like that in this place, that is not the best way to communicate. You can still say your point without ensuring that everything must scatter. So practice staying calm under pressure. And this can be through maybe taking an excuse or talking to someone else until you are able to calm your nerves. And try not to send messages when you're in the heat of anger or a very, I don't know, when your emotion is not at peace, just try to avoid sending messages or saying your mind at that time. Know when to speak, know when to pause, know when to walk away. um Other thoughts on communication. Communicate with confidence, your body language, your tone, your presence. Fight imposter syndrome. That one happens especially when like you're in a place and you are just feeling like maybe I'm not supposed to be here. That one happens sometimes, like when you get a new job or you are called to do something that you think is way ahead of you or way above you. Avoid over explaining, structure your thoughts before speaking, speak up in meetings and opportunities, communicate value without being boastful, learn storytelling. Even if you have a thought, you can take that thought, write it down, and ask ChatGPT to help you put it in a way that can relate to people in a storytelling way. Then build a voice that gets you noticed. Negotiation is part of communication, salary negotiation, contract negotiation, opportunities, and all that. Understand your worth in conversations. So I'm going to ask a few questions and then we'll move on. Where do you struggle the most with communication in your life right now? Do you struggle mostly like when you're relating with family, when you're relating with colleagues, relating with bosses, with clients, with customers, with leaders, mentors? Please, I would like to hear from you in the chat. Where where do you struggle the most with communication in your life? Then another question is, have you ever been misunderstood despite explaining yourself clearly? For me, that's yes. I've actually been misunderstood. Even though I explain myself over and over and over, I have been misunderstood. I think for me, that was like in my 400 level. Something happened between I and my friends. They did not get me, and somehow, like, we ended up not like being so close like that. But now we are all good now, but it affected us for a while. What conversations are you currently avoiding now, and why? So these are certain questions that you can ask yourself. When you are under pressure or emotional, what is the default communication response and how is it affecting your relationships? And lastly, which of your communication habits did you learn from your environment or past? And is it still serving the kind of person you want to become? So for me, like growing up, my mom was more of a, will I say, she used to engage very well verbally. So I had a tendency to be like that, but it's something that I've intentionally worked on because although there are good sides to being able to express yourself, it can also be not so good. I struggle with, so Grace is saying I struggle a lot with communication. Favor says, right now, I think with bosses, I mostly feel they are partial. I understand. Um, I think that's in Inumidu. I think I struggle a bit with leaders because I always try not to disrespect them. Okay. Ibrahim, Miriam, for me, I struggle with clients. Blessing, I am struggling with communication with my spouse, especially when you mean something and he interprets his own way. That one used to happen. That one happens. Okay, thank you for sharing. So I'll move on to confidence. Definition of confidence. Confidence is trust in your ability, your voice, and your value. And I think that this one happens to many people. For you to be confident, you just have to trust that there's something special about you. If you don't trust that there's something special about you, you might not be able to carry yourself with the kind of confidence that you should carry yourself with. And people may look down on you. People may not relate with you in a way that. So during like the therapy that I had last year, you know what the person told me? The person said, you intentionally present yourself in a way that people will undermine you or like look down on you. And the question is, why do you present yourself that way? And I was thinking about it. Why will I consciously present myself in a way that people will look down on me? Because for me, somehow I felt like I preferred that people should look down on me. Then I now become great or I over deliver or something. That for people to look up to me and then I don't meet up. But is it really the best way to present yourself? Why not study yourself and know your abilities, your strengths, and all that, and then portray your strength, push your strength instead of undermining yourself? You understand? So some people are like that, and it affects our confidence. So confidence is not perfection, but it's that you believe in yourself despite your imperfections. For example, I stammer, but even in that imperfection, I still have been able to see the good sides of myself, and I've decided to portray the good sides and the sides that work for me, and I move with the imperfection like that while I build on my strengths. So confidence shows in how you think, how you speak, and how you act. So, for example, also during that my session, I remember that I would always underdress the way, like, even if I'm going somewhere, I would underdress because I don't want somebody to now say, oh, she's overdressing or now overdress. And like, if I wear like a necklace before now, like last year, like throughout my life up until last year, if I should wear like a necklace and an earring like this, I'll feel that I'm overdressed. I would either remove the necklace or remove it, like to wear earring, necklace, uh, bangle, chain, like I feel like I'm overdressing. So sometimes this whole confidence thing, like it shows itself in different ways. So sometimes it's not even bad to think about yourself and now ask yourself, why am I behaving the way I'm behaving? Why am I doing the things that I'm doing the way I'm doing it? And then you speak to someone that is older, and the person might just tell you, my dear, wear what you want to wear. Nobody is even going to remember what you wore. Nobody's looking at you. Nobody's going back to go and write that, oh, she wore a necklace and an earring today. Nobody's thinking about it. So the fact that you are not um, talking to someone that can advise you sometimes, you would be cutting yourself short in things that you're supposed to do. So it is internal first before it becomes visible externally. God doesn't waste resources. So there must be something special for you to have. There must be something special about you for God to have created you. So understand the beauty of your own creation and work in it. So confidence is not just about having it all together, it's about showing up even with just the little that you have. So the foundation of confidence, self-awareness. First of all, search for who you are and then carry yourself based on the understanding of who you are. Competence, build your skills and your knowledge over time. You know, there are some times that you may not be talking in places, truly not because you don't have what to say, but you have not studied. You have you have not studied, and because you've not studied, you cannot speak. Or because you've not studied, you cannot write. Like I was looking at my daughter's scripts like some months ago, and I realized that when they ask her some questions like history and go and all those government and all those things, she might just write like 2 lines, 3 lines, 4 lines, and I'm like, why are you writing 2 lines, 3 lines, 4 lines for something that you should be able to explain yourself and all that? And I was talking to my husband, and we just understood that because she has not really read about like the subject matter, she cannot write on it. So that whole competence in that area, she cannot even flow in it. So competence helps you to build your confidence. Once you're able to specialize in something, it would help you to communicate better. Consistency helps you also. When you consistently study something, before you know, you just start talking about it, and you start talking about it with confidence. Um, Celebrate yourself in who God has created you to be, not basically what others are saying, because sometimes they may miss it when it comes to who you are. Confidence is built, is not wished. So you need to constantly develop yourself. I'm coming, please let me look at the chat. I think there's something there. Talking about overdressing, I think I'm overdressing most times too. Okay, okay. Well, I feel that, yeah, sometimes we overdress, sometimes we underdress, but there may need to be like a balance. So, confidence, is it born? So, are we born with it or do we learn it? So, some people appear naturally bold, but true confidence is developed. Life experiences shape how confidence grows or how it shrinks. For example, like I was saying, my son, eh, my son is naturally a talker. And so sometimes when you put him to talk with his sister, sometimes he's just talking and all that. And then she might want to shy back. But the truth is that if she's able to read more, if she's able to be more confident in herself and study more and interact more, she might start talking more. So sometimes we just be like, oh, I'm not a natural person. I don't talk like that. But even if it's not something that comes natural to you, the more you study about things, the more you develop yourself, you see that you begin to talk more. And then for some people, because of things that happen, we now decide to now shrink. So some of us were born as people that could speak. For example, I remember that when I was growing up, I liked talking. But after a while, when I discovered that I used to stammer, I now felt very like timid. So I discovered that if it's to sing, I can sing, but to talk was difficult for me. So I now started shrinking back. Like throughout in law school, except they pointed at me, I never spoke. In my class, I've never said to a judge or my lord, I've never done that. And that was the fear. Like I was so afraid. I was like, if I should go, maybe when they tell me talk now, talk, I'll start stammering. I'll not be able to. So sometimes life experiences would make us not to be able to say what we're supposed to say. So now thinking about it, maybe sometime in my life I may try it, but like I'm just saying, like the more you build yourself, you expose yourself, you train yourself, it would help your confidence. So you may not be born as confident as you see other people, but as you continue to practice, you learn, you read, you see that you begin to talk better. So why women need confidence, especially to use their voice in spaces that may overlook them. There are some times that you look at some pictures of some high profile meetings and you see just men in those places because the women are not putting themselves out there. So to negotiate opportunities, you need to be able to speak. To break limiting beliefs and societal expectations, you need to be able to speak. To lead, to influence, and to create impact, you need to be able to speak. So confidence is not optional for women, it's essential, especially the fact that you have children, children that may be watching you more than they're even listening to what you're saying. So I have to start rounding up now. Confidence boosters: prepare, talk positively to yourself, read, celebrate your small wins, and create support systems. For me, like my support system is like my husband, my friends, and few people that I talk to that help me. So confidence grows when it's nurtured. confidence killers. When you compare yourself, sometimes it's like easy to compare yourself with people, like especially when you're going to social media, you are seeing somebody say, oh, I'm so happy to be here, I'm happy to do this, happy to do that, and then you are feeling bad, like, oh, see this person have been traveling all around, posting and all that. Why should I even post when I've not even done half as much? But you'll be surprised that there are still people that listen to you. So when you decide not to speak because you're comparing yourself with someone else, you have denied other people that are listening to you wisdom from what you already know. Negative self-talk. Some of us, we like speak to ourselves in our mind. We discourage ourselves in our mind. Everything is going on in our mind, and we're just bringing ourselves down. But we must learn to talk positively to ourselves, even in our mind. There's sometimes that you may be present and you may be saying, like, everybody is even hating me. They don't even know what I'm saying. I'm not even clear. You are just being negative. So if you are negative to yourself, try to put like affirmations that can help you speak positively to yourself. And if you're a Christian, study the word of God. Fear of failure or judgment, lack of preparation. When you don't prepare, sometimes it's very difficult to communicate. So what you allow mentally will either build you or break your confidence. Confidence and past experiences. Past experiences of pain can shape how you see yourself. Negative experiences may create fear or withdrawal. I remember the first public speaking that I can remember was one time they had asked all the children in my church to learn memory verses, and they asked them to line up like on a children's day. And when they asked them to line up, they would now be passing the microphone for everybody to like recite a memory verse. When it was my turn, I just froze. My voice was blocked. The words could not come out, and it was because I started stammering. So I didn't know what to do. So the teacher came and the teacher whispered in my ear the memory verse. After they whispered in my ear, I knew the memory verse, but the words did not come out. I remember going to the back of the class and I was crying. I was just to the back of the church and I was crying because I knew that I knew the memory verse, but I couldn't say it because the word did not come out of my throat. So sometimes there are negative experiences that affect how we are able to portray ourselves in future. But as we grow, we must work on ourselves intentionally to like grow out of some of those childhood experiences. So healing and awareness can help you to separate yourself from the past, and then your past does not define your future. So build your confidence. Finding confidence, start with what you already know and can do. If everybody should write down the things that people call you out for, so there are things that people always call you for. Please, can you help me with this? Please, can you help me with this? Those are your natural terrain of competence and all that. So you can start from what comes natural to you, and then you build on other things. Acknowledge your strengths and past wins. Some of us, no matter how they compliment you, you will never collect it. But you should be able to acknowledge the things that you are good at. Step out in small and intentional actions, and then surround yourselves with growth focused environments. Study and join groups that helps you to study. So how to grow your confidence? I think I've said that. Position yourself. Okay, so I'll just move past this. Okay, communicating with confidence. Speak clearly and avoid unnecessary apologies. Some of us, before we start our sentence, we must say, oh, I'm so sorry that, oh, sorry, but you don't have to apologize before you start speaking. Maintain eye contact, strong body language. There's some times that you meet some people, the way they shake you, like they're so firm in their shake, like, and all that. So be concise, be clear, own your message, don't shrink your voice. Confidence is heard before proven. Okay. So dispensing confidence to others. Let us be people that encourage others, not people that bring others down. Then confidence and temperaments. Different people portray different types. So if you meet someone that is a sanguine or someone that is a choleric, you will just see that they are just exuding confidence. But sometimes when you see people that are reserved, it's as if they don't know what they are doing, they are shy, but you must try to come out of it, especially in the workplace. Or even if like you're married and you're married to someone that is a choleric, the person might be over, I don't know, bearing sometimes, and that may be because maybe you are flag and you are just withdrawn, you are not speaking your mind. But there is still a way that you can communicate your own essence without hurting the other person's feeling, but still staying true to yourself. So that it's not like someone is oppressing you always. So okay, what we can do to achieve what we can achieve with more confidence. We can apply for more opportunities if we are more confident. We can reach out to people and organizations more if we are more confident. We can resolve issues if we decide to even address issues instead of just putting them under the carpet. Um, we can speak in rooms that we once feared. We can start ideas, we can start businesses, we can start initiatives, we can build stronger relationships and network. We can even serve God and humanity better. I'll skip this, I'll skip this. Okay, so let me just ask these questions and let's answer it and then we'll wrap up now. Where in your life are you currently shrinking, even though you know you are capable of more? And this is in relation to what we just discussed, which is confidence. Where in your life are you currently shrinking, even though you know you are capable of more? Second question, what would you attempt or pursue if you were 100% sure that you will not fail or be judged for? What will you attempt or what will you pursue if you were 100% sure that you will not fail? Number three, whose voice or past experience is influencing your confidence today? And is it valid? Number four, what is one opportunity, conversation, or decision you have delayed because of lack of confidence? What is one opportunity, conversation, or decision that you have delayed because of lack of confidence? Okay, I'm going to be moving to the next slide. If you can answer it in the chat, it would be nice. While I'm waiting for your chat, I'll just move on. Definition of personal influence. Personal influence is the ability to shape your thoughts, your decision, and your actions intentionally. It is how you direct your mindset, your habits, and your responses daily. It goes beyond motivation, it's internal authority over your life. It determines how you show up, even when no one is watching. And that's the reason why I sent that consistency document. And that one is for personal leadership because you should be able to lead yourself. And at the end of the day, at the end of the month, you know what you have done, you know what you have not done. Like it's very clear. You understand? And that's personal influence. So you're not waiting for someone else to influence you. You are influencing yourself. You know what you want. You are clear about what you want. And you're taking the steps to do exactly what you want to do. So this is coming from within, not from outside. It's coming from inside. And this is for you to now ask yourself, okay, who am I and what do I want? If this is what I want, what are the things I need to do to make this happen? And then you hold yourself accountable for those things. And that's the reason why that document was shared with us. So definition of self-leadership. Self-leadership is the discipline to guide yourself towards purpose and goals. It is making aligned decisions even when it's uncomfortable. It requires accountability, structure, intentional growth. It is the foundation for leading others effectively. So you have to lead yourself first and lead yourself well. Once you've been able to do that, then you can translate it to others. So why we need to influence or lead ourselves. One, life constantly presents distractions, pressures, and competing priorities. So, but if you have the things that you want to achieve, despite everything that you're doing, at least before you sleep, you ask yourself, have I done this? Have I done this? So I showed the people in January my own accountability document, the things that I do daily. And then I tick it. Okay, have I prayed today? Have I fasted today? Have I read my Bible today? Have I exercised today? Have I done this today? Those are intentional things that I do for myself. Without self-leadership, we become reactive instead of intentional. It helps us stay aligned with our values, our goals, our purpose. It helps us build consistency and discipline. So what we gain by positively influencing and leading ourselves, clarity in decisions and confidence in direction, strong habits that produce consistent results. even opportunities, like I told you, like some of the opportunities that I've gotten it as a result of being confident. Like opportunities to travel, opportunities to speak, opportunities to be in certain rooms have just come because I've been able to lead myself and I've been able to position myself consistently online. Um, what we lose by not leading ourselves, well, we miss opportunities due to fear, inconsistency, or indecision. There's lack of direction leading to confusion and stagnation, dependency on others for validation or direction, weak discipline resulting in unfulfilled potential. How it affects other areas of our lives. When you're not able to positively influence yourself or lead yourself, your career will be affected, your relationship will be affected, your finances will be affected, your personal growth will be affected. How you lead yourself influences every other area of your life. So your environment. Hello, can you hear me? Sorry, I think my laptop went off. So I was saying that for me, I can post like, okay, thank you. For me now, I can post like once a day. But my husband, if he says he wants to post, for example, he can decide to post. He can tell himself that, okay, yes, you can see me. He can tell himself that I want to start posting on social media. For the next 1 week, he can post like 6 times a day, 7 times a day, 8 times a day. And then after that 1 week, he has stopped posting. But if, sorry, then after that 1 week, he will now decide to stop posting. But that is not how we're supposed to be. When you lead yourself, is that you would have already planned it. Maybe for this year, I want to post once a day. Then weekends, you can arrange your posts for ask question and then we'll go into Q&A. So my questions are, um, in what areas, oh, I am back online. Sorry, let me see. Okay, in what areas of life are you currently in what areas of life, in what areas of life are you currently reacting to circumstances instead of intentionally leading yourself? In what areas of life are you currently reacting to circumstances instead of intentionally leading yourself? Two, what habits or patterns in your life, in your daily life, are silently shaping your future for better or for worse? For worse, what habits or patterns in your daily life are silently shaping your future? Number three, if someone observed your life for 1 week, what would they say you are leading your sorry, will they say you are leading yourself well or drifting? And lastly, what is one decision, discipline, or action you know you should take, but you keep postponing? So those are the questions that I have. But I would like to go into Q&A so that we can wrap up on time. If you have a question to ask, just raise up your hand or put it in the chat, and then you can ask your question. Okay, Nita is saying, Ma, I would like I would say I'm shrinking in my social life due to my introverted personality, and I feel it's affecting me. Okay. Okay. Well, for me, I would say that I'm also an introvert. And even though I'm an introvert, so for example, I work remotely. And what that means is that I can achieve everything I want to achieve without going out. So sometimes I'm in that space where I don't want to go out. I just want to be inside the house. I want to work from the house and all that. But I discovered that it's also important that I go out sometimes. Sorry. It's also important that, sorry, hold on. Sorry, I'm trying to. Okay, thank you. Sorry for the internet issues. Yeah, so for me, I try to go out sometimes. And the reason why I do that is because there's sometimes that you're so comfortable meeting people online, but you don't know that when you meet them physically, you might be able to build a bond that you've not built when you are online. So if it is possible to go out for events, especially in your sector, look for events in your sector and attend. For example, I'm in the IP space. So sometimes when I see that IP institutes, organizations, and the rest are having programs, I try to attend those programs because there are people that I've been chatting with for years, but I've never seen them physically. But it's from those physical events that I'm now able to at least put a face to the name and all that. So no matter how introverted you are, try to attend physical events. And when you attend physical events, go with your card. Make sure you try to ask questions. There are some times that when you ask questions, you see that maybe you ask questions or you contribute, everybody would then start gravitating towards you after the program. And most times you want the crowd coming to you, not you going to the crowd. Or you want the crowd already to know your face before you go and meet them. So this is what I mean. If I go for an event and then when it's time for contribution or questions, I stand up, I introduce myself powerfully, and then I ask a question. After asking that question, once the session is over, people may come to me and start saying, "Oh, I really loved your question. I love that." So with that, I've already met people. And then even if I want to go and meet the speakers or the panelists afterwards, when I go to them, like, "Oh, you're the one who asked that question." You see, so it's easier for you to already build that rapport. And by the time you get their emails or their cards and all that, when you're sending them an email, maybe 24 hours or 48 hours later, 24 hours, 48 hours later, you can easily just say that you're the girl that asked the question about this, and that she gave you her card or he gave you her card. So it's easier for you to strike a conversation when you have spoken than when you just do not go for a meeting or you go for a meeting and you're totally quiet. So do we have questions? Do we have questions? I'm done. I'm done. Thank you everyone for staying. And I must appreciate there is a justice actually among us, and I must really appreciate you, Ma. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I don't know if you want to say something. If you want, I would let me just make myself a co-host so that I can give you sorry, 1 second. Um, Okay. So I've asked um the justice among us to unmute, assuming yes, ma'am.
Uh,
Yes, ma'am, I can hear you.
Man, it's just such an opportunity. I would have rather wanted to keep quiet and just move on. But just like you said at this last part of your discussion about making yourself known and just don't keep quiet, I just felt that let me say something that I've learned a lot. It's absolutely an amazing time for me. I could be able to identify with some things that I'm doing wrong and some things that I'm doing rightly. And I encourage everyone that this is just not another session, that we should just put it into practice, and then we'll self-develop ourselves and we'll get better. And that's, I believe that is the motivation. If you don't want to get better, you wouldn't have been here. So I encourage every one of us to put it into practice, just as I'm putting mine into practice now, because I know that many times when I go to workshops, I just glot about, keep quiet. And now I will put that one into practice. I'm a confident person, and this is an addition to what I've already known doing for myself. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Honorable Justice. We are so grateful. I'm so grateful. Thank you. It's such a privilege, such a privilege. Thank you, ma. So, like I was saying, though I have never been in court to say my Lord, but here I'm saying my Lord. Like I'm so grateful. So I finally said my Lord. Thank you so much, ma. I'm so grateful. So, do we have any question? If you have any question, please just raise up your hand, and I would try to answer. If I cannot answer the question, I can refer the question also. Do we have any questions, or we're totally satisfied? Satisfied with everything that have been shared? Okay. So while I'm waiting for our comments, whether we have questions, okay. Yes, so the videos are usually on YouTube, and I will post the link on the WhatsApp group so anybody can just go on YouTube, Juliana Imam, or you can check the WhatsApp group. I should be able to post it before today is over so that you can watch it again. So, with that, while I'm waiting for your questions, I would give the announcement and we'll be wrapping up for today. 1 second. Mm. Yes, so thank you, thank you, thank you. Let me know when you can see my screen. Okay. Okay, so I'll just go straight to our. Yes, so I encourage everybody to use that consistency document. And the reason why this consistency document is good is because of the last part of the conversation, which had to do with self leadership. If you don't lead yourself, you discover that the year is going to come to an end and you would have not achieved anything. For me now, between January till this time, I think I've done almost 20 courses. I've done about 20 courses that I've gotten certificate for. And that's because part of my daily things to sign up for is that I should have studied something for the day. So if I'm supposed to study something for the day, then I have to study, like read a book or take a course. So if I show you my like file for certificates, just this 2026, I've done almost 20 different courses on IPs, courses on IP leadership, just different communication, different courses. So if if you're using that document that I shared, it will help you. Even in prayer, it has helped me because before I sleep, I have to think: Have I prayed today? Have I not prayed today? Have I read my Bible today? Have I not read my Bible today? So it helps me to track my progress. At the end of the month, for me, I can say how many times I read my Bible in a month. I can say how many times I prayed. I can say how many times I fasted. I can say how many times I read a book or I developed myself. I can say how many times I exercised. I can say how many times I had, well, some are more private, but I'm just saying, like, it's important that we use that document, and that's part of the announcement. So the WhatsApp link is usually in the email. So the email will be shared, and then you can use the email to join. So I'm just going to give, yes, so we've already said our reflections, and I hope you had a nice time. So this meeting is usually on the third Sundays of each month. So for May, it's going to be the third Sunday of May. And kindly read the books that were attached. Kindly use the documents also. And please fill the testimonial form that will be shared after now. Please, for anyone who is willing to volunteer to assist in planning for the conference in October, it may not be something too big, but just something that can be intimate, but we can see ourselves physically and discuss. If you are open to volunteering and assisting me in that, I would appreciate it. Please just send an email and let me know. So with that, we've come to the end of our session for today. For those of us that did not come on time, if you would want to take a screenshot, that would be nice. You can put your video on, and let's just use the link for the WhatsApp. It's not here, but I'm going to send it via email. Please, Olivia, just help me check your email. You will definitely see the link. Please. Okay, so if you want to take a video, this is the right time to take your picture. With that, we've come to the end of the session for today. I just really want to tell everyone, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for being here up till this time, and thank you for engaging. And if you want to watch it again, just go on YouTube and watch it. If you want to watch January, February, or March session, you can also do that. So with that, thank you so much. Thank you, Honorable Justice, also for joining, and have a lovely night rest, everyone. Wishing everyone a beautiful week. Bye.